Alrighty, our bitch is squeaking a bit here. Just got a bit of silicone spray and put up through the hole. This is interesting. There's not even bushes in it. It's just literally a bit of bar with a bit of pipe. Now, how many of you have seen this? Steel wheels. Yeah, they are getting a little bit corroded. I've seen another way you can make them from plywood. These completely round wheels. And yeah, a lot better than getting screwed over with ones that keep blowing the damn tyres all the time from the glorious African boxthorn. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit more on the honkler situation. Look at the grass coming up, eh? The season's bang, 2.5 weeks, and we've got friggin' 2 inches of grass from nothing but dirt. Isn't that right, cute kitty? Eh? She's enjoying the last of the warm days. Want to talk a little bit about some of this political persecution crapola that's going on, and just an effect that exists. Now, it doesn't always happen. I believe the US healthcare system is a good example. But many times there's monopolies created. And as we've seen in Australia in the retail industry, there's duopolies created. And you can almost say the same sometimes for these two-party based political systems. You know, as I call it, you're either voting for dumb or you're voting for dumber. Having said that, though, the nature of competition and capitalism not always, but very often means that there is other options that appear, purely because one gluttonous company, cats always find a place to hide, or a place to sit in, even if it means sitting in a pot. Apparently, they reckon they hide from larger predators by finding little nooks and crannies to sit in, and that's why cats love sitting in boxes and flower pots, and as I've found out, 5-gallon drums. Anyway, back to the point. It's like everything. It's like you have something that's an absolute rip-off cost. You know, eventually the competition's going to be forced in. Not always, you know, but a good 80% of the time or more, you know, and you have something that's, say, you have a good product like a Toyota or a Ford van, and they cost a fair bit. And some people don't have that sort of money, especially those raising 5 kids, and so then, you know, the tide turns and you have an alternative. You know, if there's a need in the marketplace, things will appear, and even if it's not really a marketplace, there's just, you get in a squeeze somewhere, things will throw back. I want you to think of those people who were in East Germany under communist rule, and what happened? They made a run for West Germany fairly often. A lot of people, including, I believe, well, old mum has died, but the sons are still alive. Yugoslavs who left communism, persecuted due to being Jehovah's Witness. They used to be my parents' neighbours. And there's another guy, the guy at Chinese Boss's Vineyard, the manager. He was Hungarian. Same thing, communism come in there. And his father was Jehovah's Witness as well. And, well, thank God there's what was a fairly large town is now a fairly decent-sized city. His grandfather, I don't know if it was on the mother's side or the dad's side, was the mayor. And purely by having those high-up connections, he allowed his, grandkids and the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law or whatever to get out of communism. Purely by being a mayor and having all the connections. They knew they were coming under persecution for being Jehovah's Witness, for not being atheist under communism, and they took off. And, been here in Australia for, well, man, the guy's bloody near 70 years old now, and he come here as like a friggin' shit. 8, 9, 10-year-old. And many times there is an alternative created. And even sometimes when there's a monopoly, monopolies can fall to bits. Now, I really should get on with getting this firewood, so I'll pop you in my pocket. The example I want to give of that is this country. Oh, that's better. It's not squeaking as bad. In this country, we used to have a government monopoly on the phone system. It was the old Marbell, so to speak. It was Telecom Australia. Well, actually, it was actually a branch of the post office. And some of the old covers you'll see will have PMG written on the phone cover. It means Postmaster General, which is basically top dog of the post office. No shit, some of those covers are still getting round. Then they changed to Telecom, and then they changed their logo and become Telecom Australia, and then they went to Telstra and they partially privatised. But see, in all of that, they opened the market up, and the first one to come in was Optus, which at the time was a US company and now is actually known as Singtel Optus, although they still call it Optus. But technically, if you look at like the share, name or what it is, Singtel Optus is actually owned by Singapore Telecom. And, you've had a whole cluster of other ones come in. Now, when I was a salesman way back, I'd only just got out of school. I worked for, I'm not going to say who it is, but it was a branch there of a particular telco who, piggybacked off some of the other ones and whatnot. And so I knew a little bit about the laws and how it would work, how they could buy it at bulk rates, and they had to buy it at lower than retail cost. They were forced by law. This is the big old Marbell was forced by law to do all this. And they'd bitch and they'd squirm and they'd whinge and whine and, oh man, if you're seeing the carry-on that this place is actually pulled, the fucking lies they've spread, it's a wonder they're even held together. It's a wonder they haven't got bigger fines because, anything needs to be done, guess who gets the government grant for improving internet, all this, they're always willing to use the government logo, although they're not actually part of the government anymore. But it's like all these grandiose things, they all come to a fucking end. And I see political persecution as one of these things where you squeeze the fuck out of, say, like, those things they do icing with. Hell, I seen one the other day that they do fucking mortar with in between bricks. It's like a icing bag thing, and you've got your little nozzle in the front, and you just squeeze your bag, and the icing comes out the front, and you have like different nozzles. One will have like a star shape or whatever, and then just a round shape one, and you squeeze your ice. It's a bit like that. You squeeze and a certain amount can come out. You squeeze too hard and the fucking thing will burst. This is the thing, If you don't allow a bit of wiggle room in the system where both right and left-wing opinions and opinions that may well not even be either right-wing or left-wing. They may be anti-establishment. They might be, guided towards certain issues, freedom of speech, right to bear arms or whatever. They sort of, if there's too much of a squeeze, there's going to be some sort of a blowback, as the CIA would call it. If there's things pushed too hard one way or the other, just like the Vietnam War protesters, and stuff like that, there's going to be a blowback. And now they've got an idea that they're going to silence and quash conservatives, and everything's going to turn to hell in a handbag and whatnot. But like so many other things, there's an alternative. You've got Bolsonaro down in Brazil. Now, I'm not saying by any means they just let everyone flood in, and you've still got a hell of a lot of left-wing judges and stuff like that, and a lot of bullshit laws in Brazil, but they're making a start on it. Having said that, there's other places like Viktor Orban, leader of Hungary. They're in a depressed enough, well, not super depressed, but it's a bit like Romania. There's not really great economy, and so they're happy to have anyone come in who's willing to move in. You look at Bulgaria, the rate they're going, another 7 or 8 years, the damn country's going to be empty. They're happy to have people come in. It's cheap living there, lots of empty houses, and fuck all people living there. So even if you have sales tax, there's still no decent tax base because of the lack of people there who are employed, and the even further lack of people who are buying anything. And it's one of these things, There's countries there who, and actions speak louder than words. You look at what Viktor Orban's done, and, they come in, migrant crisis. What did they do? Closed off the border, even sent a whole bunch of cops to sit at the frickin' train stations, making sure these migrants weren't spewing through the train system into Hungary. They've really stood their ground on that, and they were having a real go at, they're just not accepting this massive flooding of all these migrants. And let's be honest, they're not refugees, they're just migrants. 20% of them are from Syria. All the rest of them, well, this is our chance to make a run, as the Syrians are making a run for it. So we'll go in there under the guise of being fuck me drunk, 20% Syrians and 80% fakers. God damn. Anyway, fact is that actions speak louder than words, and they've really held up to it. And they're welcoming people. There's several of those leaders in Eastern Europe who have welcomed people. Now, you want to hear about some bloomin', really socialist type crapola. Look at France and their millionaire tax. What happened there? How did that play out? They made the squeeze on millionaires. We're going to tax the shit out of you if you're a millionaire. Not if you're worth 100 million or 50 million or, 20 million, just if you're worth $1 million. I think it was if you earned $1 million a year or something like this. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was known as the millionaire tax. And they decided that the millionaires had to have their head on the chopping block to pay for everybody else. And, by being wealthy, you were going to be hit up with this massive individual tax just for millionaires. So what did you have? You had a whole bunch, not all of them, but quite a few, who said to hell with this place, and they moved out, and quite a number of them moved to Russia. Putin openly said that he was, happy to take people who were millionaires into Russia. Who, you know, and guess what? You fuck something up, and somebody sees an economic opportunity or an opportunity to, you know, make a political stand even. They see an opportunity there where someone's getting the shaft and someone else can be the saviour. And they realise that they can be the saviour. And they may have something to gain from it. It may be money. It may purely be political points. It may purely be reputation and legacy. Just that alone. They may say, well, if we give these people a safe haven, we're going to move a whole heap over here. Oh, but that wouldn't happen, Link. No, it does happen. And that's exactly why you have the offshore banking industry. Entire fucking organisations stand up and walk out and go to Vanuatu, Bahamas, this one, that one, another one, on and on and on. This is the thing. We have decided we will have low taxes. We welcome banks here. In fact, we will not make you pay company registration fees when you sign up initially, and the yearly company registration renewal, you won't have to pay that for 10 years, so long as you're a bank. And guess what? The opportunity has been created, and they go ahead and they follow through. And people go, and you've got the entire offshore banking industry based on being given an open option. Now, the beauty of being in journalism is you can have people on the ground. You can sit elsewhere in another country. In this internet age, you can sit in another country while you have people on the ground doing your investigative journalism, your reporting, you're live on the scene. We're going to go there and find out. We're going to interview people directly to find out what's going on. In this internet age where statistics are showing that, quite simply, all this cable TV, it's dying. It's dying. You know, you got Generation Z. They don't even fucking watch TV. In fact, some of them, they don't even have cable TV on because they don't give a fuck. All their news is coming through the internet. You know, and this is this thing. You've created this thing where, you know, the bandwidth is now high enough that we're not just looking at news articles. We're seeing videos, and we're not just seeing videos. We're seeing actual live streams where this shit is just, you know, going live to air just as friggin' like a satellite feed, but it's not an actual satellite feed, and my damn phone can do a fucking $100 phone, $200 phone has the capabilities of doing it. It's phenomenal. But this is where it's moved to. Information technology has gone so far ahead that now there's entire media organisations running purely off the internet. And this is the thing. They get in the door first. They become the Switzerland of banking. And Hungary might wake up one day to find that it is the centre of some of the biggest, or if not the biggest, at least the main, you know, slog of conservative news outlets. Or even just news outlets who just want to report the news without any fucking twisting of the damn facts every 20 seconds. Forced on them by bloody activists who don't want to see the facts or don't want to see the truth. You know, and this is the thing. You open up an industry like the Swiss with banking, like, you know, Vanuatu, The Maldives has got a very good system. You know, there's like a 0.5% fucking company tax, a 2% income tax in the Maldives, you know. This is a thing. Assholes screw things up by regulating and constricting things. Other people fall into position and take up that opportunity because it's capitalism. You sit there, you can watch Salon Media pushing all this shit, trying to mainstream pedophilia, you know, and what's happening? Some of these joints are dying, you know. Oh, well, they're MAPs, minor attracted person. Keep pushing this bullshit. You know, what it's like to date your dad. They're trying to push incest as though it's fucking normal. What's happened? What's happened to Salon Media? In last-ditch talks, they're being sold for $5 million. The last-ditch talks will probably, you know, if you actually, this is news coming through now, if you probably follow it through to the end, you'll find they only sold for fucking $3.5 million. They're fucked. They're fucked. These places are falling. Our time is coming. Oh, it's very hard. Oh, we can't go on. Oh, we're going to be this. Just hold on there. Because the crest of the wave is we're at the top of the crest of the wave. The top is just starting to fold in, and it's about to cause a huge big dumper. It's a bit, you know, the wave is just starting to crest. CNN, some are saying, laid off 100. Oh, no, it was voluntary redundancy. Same fucking thing. I've been through a voluntary redundancy. I tell you what, if you're bored of your job anyway and someone drops $7,200 in your lap after tax, $9,000 before tax, woo! The voluntary redundancies don't look that bad. Old white trash guy in my department, been renting all his life, never had enough money for much at all. And he got $56,000 dropped in his lap in one day. You could imagine the reaction. You would have thought he was high on cocaine if you didn't know the backstory. The dude had probably never seen any more than $5,000 in one hit in his fucking life, and he's just been handed $56,000 in one day. Anyway, CNN's gone ahead with these voluntary redundancies. And if they didn't volunteer, well, you know, it'd be, we just start picking people. Some say 100 have left, some say 300. BuzzFeed laid off shitloads. I forget how many it was. I think it might have been 800 or 1,000 or something like this. It was a lot. Activision Blizzard Games laid off 800. Salon is barely able to even be sold. Clambering. You know, Vice. You've got Amazon wanting to buy up Vice and the New York Times because they're fucking clambering. These places are full of shit. They're dying. But it's not just that they're full of shit that's the reason they're dying. It's also because the old school, non-internet based cable news or TV based news is just a dying fucking thing. It's a dying thing. The technology, and it's coming to an end. It's coming to a close, and nobody sort of, you know, it's old. It's a bit like manual cars in this country. There is something like only 14% of vehicles sold in this country are manual. Why? Just people prefer an automatic. 14%! You know? It's just an old school, it's just run its course. May survive for, you know, basically 100 years, but it's run its course, you know? It's like trying to sell horseshoes. No one gives a fuck except a handful of people who own horses. Because the mainstream isn't using horses anymore for transport. It's all over. But not only is that over, to a large degree, even stuff like Salon Media and Vice, you know, which have been right on the edge of all this internet stuff, any left-wing bullshit is all over as well. It's dying, it's finished, the game's over. You know, everyone's, oh, we're hanging on, We don't know if we can fight this censorship. Don't worry. Don't worry. Won't be much longer now. These places that have been pushing for censorship, even including the digital platform-based ones, are going broke and firing people en masse. Old fucking old mate over there in the White House. If he gets a couple censorship laws moving, the back will be broken. If he stops people getting banned on Twitter and Facebook because of their sheer opinions, the back will be broken on this, and it will no longer be a problem. It will no longer be a problem. All we need now is the EU to fold up. And you look at the upcoming, you know, the way it's going, it looks like all these Eurosceptic parties are going to enter the EU Parliament. All the guys in the EU Parliament are going to be anti-EU. How long do you think that's going to take before all that blows over? There's people 6 months before the collapse of East Germany that said, you know, these are people in their 40s and their 50s, East Germany's not going to end in my lifetime. 6 months later it was finished. I'd be surprised if it's any more than 5 years before the EU keels over. And that's it. I'm not saying the whole world's in conservative, I'm just saying the back of the bullshit's broken, and then you're fine. You know. Once your voice can be heard, and I'm not saying you got to run every fucking aspect of everyone's life in the country, but once your opinions are heard, you know, the country's got a chance to get back on track. It's no longer heavily biased in one political, you know. You got some fucking crazy idiots out there. There's one woman who has decided that, well, what they should do, you know, kids don't know if they want to be male or female, so we should sterilise them. You know, we should give kids hormone treatment to sterilise them until they work out if